to make Savannah their home. Trustees, colonists did not want them here. They expressed that. We do not want them from the air. From a steeple to the air. And if those of you on your side, you may see the steeple. Just in the opening scene as far as fun. Church coming up to your right corner, everyone. First Baptist Church. One of the oldest standing church structures here. It was one of the few that allowed the Union soldiers to worship there during the Civil War. The Barrow House on the right. Notice all the ironwork. And at the bottom right, there are medallions in defense of famous statesmen and poets. Iron was a status symbol of wealth. It wasn't very plentiful, and it was hard to come by unless you had lots of money. So when you see these mansion homes with all this ironwork, the staircases inside the home, outside the home, columns to the doors, around the windows, window frames, these people are considered wealthy people because it took money to have that type of iron. So a little bit of iron. You said, well, they working on it. Yeah. Slow start, but they getting there. South Carolina, followed the siege of Savannah, where he lost his life October 9, 1779. That was one of the bloodiest hours of the American Revolutionary War. The British fought against American, Haitian, French soldiers. The British won that battle, losing less than 100 men and 1,000 captured within that hour. On our right corner is the Greene House built in 1800s at a cost of $93,000 for Charles Greene, who was a British citizen and volunteered his home to General Sherman. General Sherman used that as his headquarters. It is from there that he sent President Lincoln the famous telegram message giving the president the city of Savannah as a Christmas gift. And because President Lincoln accepted that gift, this city was saved from being burned down to the ground. Anyone that knows anything about General Sherman knew that he burned anything that got in his path. Savannah was spared. Off for the lose his life at the siege of Savannah. He believed and fight for the freedom. And then he buried out there under that monument that is dedicated to him. He became known as the father of the American Revolutionary War. On our right is the Mercer William House, built in 1860 for Confederate General Mercer, who was the great-grandfather of Johnny Mercer. The room to the left where you see the lights on, that is where the alleged murder took place of Danny Hanson, supposedly by Jim Williams, who was put on trial 3 times for the alleged murder. To our right corner, also, this was in the movie, something to talk about its own here.
Right there.
Straight ahead, we have the synagogue in Big Israel. You see the left corner there. It is the only Gothic-style synagogue in America.
On a bench over here.
Yeah.
I'm going to the
Okay. Yeah. Puppy.
See, is the interior that they refinished and brought back to its original glory. Look to the last window on the first floor there, and you'll see a very ornate fireplace mantel as well as a beautiful staircase. They really did a fantastic job bringing that thing back up to date. Now, the next building I'll show you is this big white building, a light-colored building with a tan trim. That building used to be the old Candler Hospital. It's now one of the scant dormitories, but what I really want you to see on this walk is right down here in the parking lot, folks. That is the Candler live oak tree. That tree is over 300 years old. It is 17 feet around at the base, has a crown of over 110 feet, and stands over 54 feet tall. Now, when Oglethorpe was surveying for the streets and the squares, I am a history nut and I enjoyed all that stuff in there. It was very neat. Stop number 5, Massey Heritage Center. Everyone is good. Well, I'm glad y'all are staying with me, but I gotta tell y'all can't go home with the night family that built the very first electric power plant in this area. And that house, ladies and gentlemen, had electric lights and working toilets before the White House did. I'm sure that interests their neighbors. And that's going to bring us down to Whitefield Square. And in Whitefield Square, I did not have a monument or a statue to show you. What I do have to show you in Whitefield Square is a gazebo. Now that gazebo is part of our movie heritage, and that's why I looked it up. Years ago, that was a movie prop in one of the Reynolds' early movies, a movie called Gator. It was in several scenes in the movie. And after the movie finished filming, he donated it to the city, so we keep it up in memory of our movie heritage. Monument, no statue, not even a gazebo, not an object. That is the artillery spear. It has all the signs of the zodiac emblazoned on one of the outer rings, and as we pass it, if you look down at the bottom of the spear, you'll see it's held up by little tiny turtles. Now, folks, that used to be a sundial that we used here in Savannah, right up until the time that the city moved it into the shadiest square we have. So we no longer use it as a sundial. It's not very accurate anymore. Now, before we leave the square, I want you to look at the historical marker there right on the edge of the square. When you get to where you can see it, look up at the top. It says Jingle Bells. We call this our Jingle Bells church right here on my left. Some of the ones that haven't been covered up, thank goodness. And as we go around the square, if you look in front of us on the right-hand corner, that building looks like the federal building, doesn't it? That's because that's federal offices. Now, I'm just going to tell you folks, locally we call those our bathroom towel buildings. I'm sure you can understand why. Now, everybody knows about the haunted history of Savannah. It's supposed to be one of the most haunted cities in America. And I don't know what it is, but every time I make this turn right here, I just feel like somebody is staring at me. Now, as we continue on through the square, look in front of us on the left at that beautiful yellow house right there with the statues out front. That was originally the Telfair Mansion. It is now the Telfair Academy of Arts and Museum System. And that house was built by Andrew Telfair. When he passed away, he left it to his sister Mary. Very popular area downtown here. And we'll also be at the American Prohibition Museum. Now, if you intend to tour it any time that you're here in Savannah, before you get off the trolley, whether you're sure you're going to tour it or not, if you think you might, see me before you get off, and I will give you a card for discounted admission just in case you do. You know, what's that? Okay, room for 8 people. Okay, the next trolley will be around just a couple of minutes. Sorry. All right, for all my new guests on board, I am Joey. I'll be your tour guide for this portion of the tour. We're leaving stop number 7, City Market. Now, I would ask that you keep your cell phones on silent, and if you're going to have a conversation with a seatmate there, please keep it to a whisper so everyone can hear the narration.
All this area.
Now, do I still have people over here that are familiar with Midnight the Garden of Good and Evil? Okay, great. Right up here on the right, that brick building with the blue awnings on it, that is Club 1. That's where Lady Chablis performed. She lived here in Savannah, but she performed all over the South. I he did. But that was what Lady Chablis called the home club. Performed there for over 20 years. They made judge on the bench. Only in Hollywood can you be too old to play yourself. As we continue on now, we are on Bay Street, so I will caution you, we are at the highest elevation in Savannah, Georgia. We are at a whopping 42 feet above sea level. So if your ears are popping or the air seems thin, don't worry, I'll get you back down to some lower elevation real soon. Now, you can look out the left side up above those trees and see that beautiful golden dome up there. And as soon as we clear the trees, you'll be able to see it even better. It's on this building right up here at the red light. That is our city hall. And that beautiful gold dome up there, ladies and gentlemen, is not painted. That is actual 23 karat Italian gold up there on that dome. And we're turning on to Bull Street, which was the first street surveyed by Oglethorpe when he was laying out the city. He was awarded the Mulberry Grove Plantation, just 8 miles up the river from here, and he moved his family in there. Unfortunately, he did not live there very long. You see, he was originally from Rhode Island, and he did not acclimate himself to our summer heat. And one particularly hot summer day, he went out for a horseback ride, and he forgot his hat, and the poor man died of a sunstroke. Now, when he passed away, he left a widow and 4 young children, and his widowed wife was very concerned about how she was going to ensure that her children got a good education. So she decided to hire a tutor to live on the plantation and tutor her children every day to make sure they got a good education. And after a little bit of checking around, she finally decided to hire a young Yale graduate. And as you can see, we had to take a little detour there because they were doing some construction on Broughton Street. Normally, we would be coming straight down Broughton. It wouldn't take quite as long to get around. But we're fixing to get right back on track and take a left on the Broughton right here. Now, if we'd come down the street like I usually do, I would point it out that subway to you across the street on the corner. Not because it's a subway, but because of the tile that leads into the entry door. That is the original tile that was there when that building was constructed. And the tile, if you can see it, it spells out Woolworths. Now look at this line already starting to form over here. This is Leopold's ice cream, folks, right here on my left. That is some of has been voted some of the best ice cream
No, we saw the long line.
in the entire world. That is the Keyhole House. Now look at the beautiful white trim around the windows, the white columns up near the top, the design on them, the intricate design on them. And look at the rails, the banisters, and the steps, and the porches. Everything on that house besides the brick is made of iron. There's not a piece of wood on the outside of that house. Mr. Kehoe owned the iron foundry, and he always said he was a good enough craftsman that anything that could be made from wood, he could make from iron. And he set about to prove it when he built his house, and obviously he was quite a craftsman. Coming up on my right, where the flags are up, General Nathaniel Greene is not in the square named General Nathaniel Greene. Well, so am I. All I tell you is welcome to Savannah. As we go around the square, I want you to take a look at the church across the square there with the pinkish colored plaster on the bottom and the red brick up top. That is the Second African Baptist Church. And several years ago, there was a young preacher that came there and gave a sermon that he later turned into a famous speech.
Organ failure, coma, death, delirium, all that stuff, maybe not in that order, but anyways, that makes it a very frightening disease. It was carried by mosquitoes, and it would typically infect, about 25% of the population, leaving about 40% of those infected in a wave of path of death. So afterwards, they would, try to deal with burials, and they didn't deal with it terribly efficiently. So The bodies had to be dragged out to the edges of the city. They tried to do burnings in the squares. The city sent out wagons, sort of like Monty Python style, bring out your dead, you know. I have a number of cemeteries that have been built and forgotten here. Our first cemetery in Savannah was abandoned in 1750, so that goes back a long ways. That's under a city block at Bull Street and Oglethorpe. And we had slave burials at Whitefield and Calhoun Squares. Not that there were squares back then, but they are now, and there's a lot of left behind bones there. Yeah. Did I forget something? Or did you mention something you want me to add? I know we've had, where?
I think there's just people yelling on the street.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
Should we track a lot of attention?
You know, we've been now, 3 years now. Last two St. Patrick's Days were not celebrated here in Savannah. It's hard to imagine. So I think we want to go crazy this year, you know.
Looks like it.
Partying and fun, and usually a week-long celebration, much like the Mardi Gras in New Orleans, or maybe even Carnival down in Brazil. I think you're seeing the beginnings of it, I guess, and we're, about a week away here, right? Well, we had our share of murder and intrigue here in Savannah as well, so I think I pretty much got the major points. Now, we're heading over to a place called the Pirate's House. The Pirate's House is full of ghosts and sailors that were abducted. They were shanghaied. That's kind of an old-fashioned term. It means abducted and sold off for forced labor on the ships. They call it getting shanghaied because sometimes these guys were headed for far-flung ports like Shanghai, China. Still a major port today. They would put a drug in some guy's drink, you know, like laudanum, which is opium. The man would be rendered unconscious. They'd carry the man down into the basement of the bar. When no one was looking, they put him on a stretcher. They'd carry him through this secret brick tunnel that went down to the river. Money would change hands, and they'd never see that guy ever again. Except maybe his ghost might show up later when the sharks ate him in the Indian Ocean. And Zippo, he pops back into Savannah as a ghost. Every room of the Pirate's House has a different ghost. You go in one room, they say you can hear bracelets clanking. In another room, it sounds like a chain being dragged. In one room, people say they can see little objects flicked off the fireplace man, little curio items. I think it's one of the mischievous ghosts there. Right over there, see them there?
It's the Pirate's House.
This is the Pirate's House, yeah. Exactly. Yeah, those are the oldest buildings in Georgia that make up the Pirate's House. They date back to 1734. What I find kind of cool is when you have dinner there, you look at the bricks on the wall. You can sometimes see the marks of fingers, you know, because these are handmade bricks, the imprint of the people who've been dead for centuries, you know, that mark the walls. That's kind of ghosty to me.
Like they were
practicing
for next weekend.
Oh,
like,
I got you. No, that makes sense. Yeah.
They're tearing that liver up, you know.
Well, you know, look at the people. They're already got the green on there. See?
Yeah, they're all out and about.
Yeah, they were out last night for as a 10K or something.
Yeah,
we ran into them last night.
5K.
Yeah, that city was all hard to get tours in because they had barricades everywhere.
Of course there is.
Okay, I like the T-Rex or dragon.
Yeah, the dinosaur. Could be a dragon. Oh, that makes me tired.
See, those are fun until someone falls off.
Uncoordinated.
I'm sure that's frequent occurrence as well.